Welcome to Distribution Talk with Jason Vader, the show where we dive into the stories, struggles, and solutions from business owners and thought leaders in the wholesale distribution market. Hey friends, Jason here. In this episode, I had the opportunity to catch back up with my friend Pierre Barbeau. He is the CEO and founder of Moblico, and Moblico is a solutions provider that integrates a lot of different mediums, and he'll go into it a little bit more, but really originally started with mobile communication, so allowing customers to text into a centralized inbox for customer service people. That was kind of the beginning of that company. Now they've built mobile apps. They go into some broadcast, so really from a marketing engine side. And now they've delved into the AI world of order processing. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But really, we stepped back and talked about what the real problem was. And I think that something that we haven't talked about on this show is the why. Why are we seeing these AI solutions come in, and what are the pain points really inside of distribution that these AI solutions are jumping into? And one of the big ones, of course, is this ability for customers to send information in. They're not really talking to someone anymore, that their preference is shifting towards this push of either a document, a text, an email, but very unstructured data. And how do you move that into an ERP so that it can be processed into an order? Well, as we've moved along our evolution, we've had our CSRs do that heavy lifting and the labor intensive side of this. And we've talked about this before. This isn't anything new, but I think that they are really attacking this from a little bit different method, in that it becomes part of their core solution rather than something that's along the chain. Hopefully that'll make some sense to you as we go through this, but always a pleasure catching up with Pierre, and I hope you all enjoy the episode. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Moblico. Since 2010, Moblico's mission has been to help wholesale distributors, manufacturers, and contractors improve customer service, expedite orders, engage, and expand their customer base. They've helped hundreds of companies who have fallen behind executing their mobile digital plans bridge the technology gap. Beyond two-way communication messaging, Moblico offers one-to-many targeted broadcast solutions. Imagine communicating new product offerings, special events, or even service disruptions instantly to the right customer segment. If you've been curious about how mobile technology can help your company, or are looking to upgrade your current solution, check out what Moblico has to offer at www.moblicosolutions.com. That's MOBLICO solutions.com. And be sure to let them know you heard about them on the Distribution Talk podcast. Well, hey, Pierre, always a pleasure to bring you back on Distribution Talk. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jason. It's great to be here. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Hey, so just before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes here about what's going on with you all, if you wouldn't mind just kind of a quick background on your product and what you all do at Moblico.
Sure. We formed our company back in 2010, signed our first wholesale distributor back in 2011. Mm-hmm. Bottom line is, even as early as 2011, distributors were beginning to realize that the contractors that they serve, expectations were changing. Mm-hmm. They were walking around with new smartphones. Yeah. They were used to texting at home. Mm-hmm. They were beginning to use mobile apps increasingly, and distributors were wanting to bridge that gap. So Moblico built a platform that allows for distributors to, stand up these channels and offer them to their customers to use. Those channels are increasingly becoming one of the preferred methods for contractors to engage with distributors, whether it's through messaging, chat, mobile apps, and email, which is also used, both at a computer as well as on a mobile phone. So our company basically designed, a platform that allows for those communications to take place. As a result of people using these channels, there's also a great opportunity to collect and receive opt-in permission from customers to re-engage with them through these channels, which is also a very responsive channel. Open, are in the 90% range within minutes, as opposed to email, which, open rates tend to be 20, 30% at best. So campaigns that are done through these channels tend to be very successful. We've had customers tell us they were able to boost, some of their sales from specific campaigns 150 to 300% compared to other channels. And then last but not least, and we'll talk about this a little bit today, but as a result of contractors increasingly using these digital channels, we consider them part of e-commerce. A lot of people think e-commerce is a website. It's part of that, of course. But we also think that there's a lot more electronic ordering taking place outside the website, and hence why our platform is of value. And one of the things that we've experienced and seen distributors struggle with is, a lot of these orders that come through these unstructured channels like text and email and even PDFs for that matter, handwritten notes, right? A lot of customers are experiencing that as well. It's laborsome to take that information, transcribe it into an ordering system. So, we call that swivel chairing.
Okay.
And, it's prone to errors. It takes a lot of time. So there's a better way. And I think with the arrival or the opening of, I should say, AI and, language models, we've been able to leverage that technology and solve that problem. So we now offer a solution that allows our customers to take these unstructured conversations and extract the information, present it in a structured format, line items, if you will, match those to products in their catalog, review them, and at a click of a button, submit those into their ordering system. So it's a game changer.
So, Pierre, I wanted just to kind of touch on something before we get into kind of, what that looks like, in Moblico. I want to step back for a second, thinking about when you all formed and you were really looking at ways for distributors to engage these contractors. And I think this new offering that you're kind of alluding to and kind of getting into really goes back to your core theme of meeting the customer where they want to be, where they are. And I think this is kind of a natural evolution, because if you really think about, again, building it, contractors started to play around with text messaging and mobile messaging. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to meet the customer where they are. They wanted to, send pictures. I'm going to meet them where they are. And I really think that's got to be the prevailing thought whenever we build technology and we are trying to capture customers. It is, where are they today? And where do they want to be? And I think that if we just build things because we think they're cool and that we think they're neat, I just don't think it's going to land as well. And I just think we're going to be pushing that rock uphill. But if solutions providers like yourself and distributors, in concert, actually look at that customer and ask better questions. Hey, how do you want to do business? Not here's how you're going to do business in the future. It's how do you want to do business?
Yeah, Jason, we're hyper focused on our customers' needs, right? So, in the early days when we first started, and we were building our product set, we came with a lot of knowledge because the co-founder, Jim Barnes, and myself came from the mobile industry. So we sort of had a sense of what resources, what tools, the business sector would need as things were beginning to open up and so forth. So we had sort of that head start, if you will. I would say at this point, now that customers are 100% engaged with the technology, we really work with them to assess where the gaps are, where there's an opportunity to improve their business and apply the technology, right, in a way that is meaningful to them. That's lasting. To your point, building things for the sake of building things doesn't amount to much for either side. So, that's pretty much core to our mission and our DNA as a company. We answer only to our customers. We're very focused on what their needs are. And I could tell you too, again, because of when we started this, we saw the evolution, not just the digital transformation evolution, but we also saw an evolution in ownership in distribution companies. In the early days, we were calling on the senior members of the family, trying to
Careful, my friend. We're getting there. We're getting to that age group. So
we're becoming part of that group. But in the day, we were trying to explain where things were, where we envisioned things would go, and it was a tough sell. So we saw a shift in ownership. Families passing the baton to the younger generation, and that really opened things up. That and again, you got to remember when we started, people were paying per message. Like you didn't have like unlimited plans.
right.
So as things opened up, as technology and business barriers broke down, things really started to pick up. So we're in a good place now. I think distributors are very aware that they need to step up their game in terms of technology and digital transformation and data cleanliness and all that good stuff.
Right.
I wouldn't say everybody's on the same footing, but I think the awareness is sky high. And I think AI only added fuel to the fire, right? So distributors, I think, are primed to really dig into some of these new technologies. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time for companies like ours.
Oh, absolutely. No, this is a very exciting time. And I think that's why we're seeing conferences dedicated to this. You were just recently at what was it, the MDM, shift, and then we're both going to the DSG Applied AI for Distributors conference. Those conferences would not be present or built if there wasn't an excitement and a momentum going towards this. And actually people asking for a better mousetrap, asking for a better way to do the things that they've been doing and the interactions with their customers and and it's not just, customer interaction. There's a lot of things that AI is attacking in distribution, micro applications. But let's kind of take a look at, the direction you all are going and really let's kind of look at the problem. What is the problem that these tools, because there's a lot of people trying to solve this problem, in the AI space, but what is the problem?
Well, I used the term chain of pain.
Okay.
And I actually spoke about this at MDM Shift. We were on a panel there.
Okay.
And I stole that idea from my camera phone days. I helped launch a product called Sprint Picture Mail back in the day. At Sprint, it was the first camera phone picture sharing service in the US. And we took a lot of inspiration from the digital camera industry. And they had a thing called the chain of pain. When you bought your first digital camera, you didn't realize it, but you'd have to go home and plug it into a computer and download, install software on your computer. And there were like multiple steps in order for you to take a picture and share it with a friend. And in fact, I think if I remember right, close to 50% of digital cameras were returned to stores in that period.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Okay.
Or people were dissatisfied with the complexity. They wanted the instant benefit. They wanted the ability to share that digital cameras brought to the table, the reduced costs, right? Because back then you had to print film to see a picture.
Sure.
But that chain of pain was an issue. So apply that to distribution. There's a lot of chains of pain, right? In processes and how things are done. Specifically in what we do, where we spend our time. A very basic example, people are texting, but they're texting personal phones, right?
Okay.
So branch managers, outside, inside salespeople are texting customers on their phone to phone. Well, that also means all the customer data is locked up on those devices. If those individuals, leave the company someday, you lose your customer data. There's no oversight. There's no ability for the team to participate, help out, and address some of the concerns customers might have. So there's one example of a small micro chain of pain, but it also sets the stage for, hey, you're better off to have a platform that connects to your business number from which you can then, conduct your communication. So, and as I said before, that's led to now an increase in these unstructured orders, right? That are being received in we'll call it a team inbox. Great. But again, the increase in activity, and we're talking millions of dollars are being spent, ordered through these channels. So right now, in the absence of a tool to translate that information into something that is more easily ingested into an ordering system, it's all done manually. So, for a team at the counter, for example, it's laborsome, and it also prevents them from doing what they're probably doing best is the support and the customer service, right? And the engagement, instead of doing more transcribing and the order entry. So we're trying to automate that process using AI.
So, looking at that problem, I mean, again, you're seeing a lot of orders coming through, and it really prevents those customer service people and those order entry from actually performing customer service. They're really just data entry people at that point. And it's just, how fast can I get this person off the phone, or how fast can I process that email or text or whatever it may be? So they're really not able to perform customer service. They're just banging in as many as they can as fast as humanly possible.
That's also true of quotation, right? So some
It is.
industries, that is the biggest bear is we spend all our time generating quotes and we only close a small percentage of them.
Right.
So, if you can reduce that burden, again, you're freeing up the team to do the things that they do best. And by the way, we call our product Order Assist because we're trying to apply AI in such a way that it helps the team do their work. We're not trying to get AI to interface directly with the customer. At this stage, we're really trying to keep that one-to-one relationship intact, but rather apply AI in such a way that it, again, removes those painful steps, right, in your day-to-day business. And sometimes those little chains of pain don't have to be big, but they add up, right? In the cumulative, they can become a really big problem.
This episode of Distribution Talk is sponsored by InSQL Distribution Software. InSQL is a fully functional distribution-based software package. I only recommend software packages that were purpose-built to serve distribution, and these folks do it very well at a price point many smaller distributors can afford. Economy doesn't mean compromise. This company is on the cutting edge of distribution-friendly applications like VMI on mobile devices, mobile signature capture, mobile CRM, warehouse management software, and e-commerce development. If you're ready to step up to a fully loaded, scalable distribution package at an affordable price, look no further than InSQL Distribution Software at www.insql.com. That's INXSQL.com. One of the things, Pierre, is that there is a lot of information coming in, through an inbox, for example. For a long time, you might have had people that were adept enough to really manage that flow and to take care of and bang in orders, as you said, manually, into the software. They could mentally translate, what this request was all about in that email, and they could put it into that ERP. But now you're getting to a point where maybe some of this population is aging and wanting to retire and wanting to leave the company. So you're trying to replace that with people who, sometimes a tenth of the experience of this individual who is leaving. And all of a sudden they're going to be, this onslaught of requests coming in. They're not going to be able to handle that. I mean, just their experience level is not going to be able to handle that onslaught. And so, again, you have to find a solution for that problem.
Yeah. I think all distributors, contractors as well are facing this as well, right? I was watching Mike Rowe the other day in an interview saying for every 5 person leaving, 2 are coming in.
In the trades. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So it's here and now, right? So anything we can do with technology to simplify the flow, reduce errors, but to your point, I think a third sort of fringe benefit, but it's significant, is sort of knowledge transfer, right? So those team members who use these tools, the tools themselves have the ability to learn and remember, right? So what's happening is team members who know are the ones who are essentially using the tools, in essence, training the tool so that, the tool performs better over time.
Right.
And as others use the tools, that there will be less training required, right,
Yeah.
of the tool itself. So I think it lends itself well to a situation like this where, you have people who have different levels of comfort with, what the SKUs are and everything, right? I mean, some of these guys know it off the top of their heads, but newcomers may not.
Yeah, but that takes institutional knowledge. I mean, that takes, that's tribal knowledge. That's a long time, to do that. And I think that if a tool like this can, take the burden off of a lot of that, I think then that really provides the opportunity for more training, training time. They can go back and, study product knowledge videos, for example,
Exactly.
in those Blue Volt systems and other learning management systems. And they can spend time there. Then also they can spend time, in the ERP training. Because, I mean, you and I both know that most people use probably 10 to 12% of that ERP's capability. Well, nobody has the time to invest in how to up that technology utilization. So I think a benefit, if I could, is that we're freeing up time so that these internal folks can spend better training time. They can really up their game.
Absolutely. And there's more we're going to do in that domain where order assist is one area, but there
Yeah.
are a lot of opportunities to help them be more productive and efficient. And we're looking at a lot of those things right now.
So could you explain just kind of in a basic layman's terms how Order Assist works?
Okay. So, again, in essence, there's, we'll call it team inbox, right?
Sure.
So that team inbox can receive communications from email. I mean, there's also integrations potentially, right, from other systems, text, and chat. In foreign countries, WhatsApp is an alternative channel as well, right, for messaging.
Right.
The use case in some countries is huge. It is by far the preferred way for people to order.
Yeah.
So what you have is a singular team inbox. That inbox, by the way, is shared by different team members, call it within branches or even in a call center type environment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's collaboration in that inbox. So a conversation could be assigned to different team members. Within the inbox itself, incidentally, there's a lot of functionality and feature functions that make the conversations a little easier, escalations, a bunch of different things. But specific to ordering in quotes, the orders in quotes come through a central location. Those can come in different formats, right? So it could just be an open-ended message, right? And by the way, it's rarely just one. It's a conversation, right? Hey, I need some of this. Oh, well, we only have some of those.
Yeah.
Would that be okay? Yeah, maybe okay. Yeah. Can you also add this? Right. So you have a string of within the conversation.
Right.
So things are going back and forth is where I'm going with that. And once the conversation is completed, right, the team can, at a push of a button, but essentially convert what was on the screen to a more structured order. Other formats are handwritten notes.
Sure.
That can be a big deal, right? I mean, and these don't necessarily come on a piece of paper either, right? They can come on a piece of wood.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I mean, we've all kind of laughed about the order written on a 2x4 or a piece of scrap drywall or something like that. Yeah. Or, in the sheet metal industry, scrap, sheet metal.
So there's a lot of formats.
Sure.
PDF, Excel, spreadsheet would be another.
Hey, those are nice though. I mean, that's the nice version.
Yeah, it's nice, but it's not easy. Still not easy to
Fair enough.
to convert and execute, right? From the inbox to something. So we're helping with that flow.
So you mentioned something about communication back and forth. Now, dialogue communication. So this is something a little different. So are you saying that you could potentially from this inbox, you can ask questions back? Ask questions back, did you mean this? Or let's go even a little bit further, the solution of trying to add on additional items is, oh, it looks like you're buying these things. Are you also looking for this, this, and this? Or did you remember this, this, and this?
Yeah, the inbox, it can absolutely be used for follow-up, for upsell, cross-sell.
Yeah.
Or frankly, these inboxes are used even beyond ordering, can be used for notifications, right? Hey, your product is on its way, it's ready for pickup.
Right.
But you can also automate that, right?
I'm telling you, I think that's one of the most underutilized pieces of your system, or really any system like it, is the notifications of, hey, your stuff's on its way or it's ready for pickup. Those are worth their weight in gold.
You'd be shocked how many distributors are calling their customers to let them know that, a product's ready for pickup.
If they remember. I mean, I'm telling you, from my personal experience, if they remember, that's why the automation is the right way to go.
Think about it. I call you, I leave you, you're not going to answer. You're busy. So I'm going to leave you a voice message. And what are you going to do? You're going to listen to it? No, you're going to hit call back and you're going to call me. I'm busy. So maybe you're on hold now. There's a chain of pain right there, right?
Totally. Oh, yeah.
Instead, send a text message. You're done.
That's right. Oh, no. This is something that I have spoken about multiple times. I think, and I know we're slightly getting off, but I wanted to kind of talk about, this communication. One of the things that just drives me crazy is when you have inventory sitting in these will call buckets. That is captured inventory, and they sit there for weeks and weeks and weeks until somebody scrapes through the will call area and says, hey, you know what? I doubt these folks really want this anymore. And I think that, that just drives me crazy. So an automation product that can do that is pretty valuable to a distributor.
Absolutely.
So going back though, is the communication going back and suggesting things? Is that a manual communication from a customer service person, or is there any automation available to do that?
Well, it depends on how the program is set up. So, for example, one of the features we have in Order Assist is we actually make recommendations to the team on questions they should be asking customers. So,
Okay.
if the order is XYZ, maybe here are 2 or 3 questions you could then relay back to the customer to
Fair enough. Okay.
and those could be an upsell
Yeah.
in nature, but it could also be clarification, right? You want this one or this type, right? So we're trying to assist again with the process.
Well, I think one of the most underutilized functions or features of any of these ERPs has been this upsell, cross-sell, database. And I think it's just because it's a daunting task. You think about somebody stocking 10,000 SKUs. Do I really want to go through 10,000 SKUs and say, oh, you could add this, this, and this with this SKU, this daunting task. Nobody's going to do this. But I think this is an excellent application of where AI could come in and do that work for you. Just by looking at previous orders and learning patterns, starting to recognize patterns.
Yeah, and to continue on the process flow here, so you got your inbox, conversations completed, you've got your information. Next thing you'll see basically is a structured version of your conversation with line items, potentially pricing, right? So at this point, you've got integration with the ERP. That's a big part of what makes this work, right? So we're tapping into your catalogs, pricing information, down to the individual customer. But you get an opportunity to review and make modifications, right? Because you're not going to hit this thing out of the box 100% of the time. You're not.
Right.
So you need to teach it. But even if it improves things a little bit, right? At the beginning, it's still a win.
Sure.
And then over time, it gets better and better. Once you've had an opportunity to review your order, ship tos, customer information, it should hopefully pre-populates because a lot of that will be known. Basically, at that point, you can literally click a button to send it to your ERP system.
Right. So a lot of it, the scrubbing, if you will, and the cleaning and the preparing is done up front in the Order Assist system, or this is really an extension of the Moblico solution here. But it all gets done, and then okay, we're ready to go to ERP. Go ahead and have some fun. Let's let this thing fly through the system.
Pretty much.
Got it. No, it sounds like, and I will say, I mean, we did kind of, go through that, in a little more detail than typical, but I'm going to say, Pierre, you're not the only guys doing it. I mean, so, there are a lot of these systems out here. So I guess what makes, your solution unique? You've seen some of the other guys, you know what's out there.
Of course. So, look, it started with character recognition, right? I mean, PDFs in particular, which, by the way, using AI is a much more efficient way because you don't have to structure and match every single invoice type,
Right.
right? Which is laborsome and costly. So what I think is unique about what we're doing is Moblico has and has had since our inception, basically, a messaging component, a marketing component in our system.
Yep.
And what we've done is added the order assist as a function as part of the flow, but we have the whole marketing engine that sits behind this as well. So as orders are generated through our system, that can tie back to our rewards program. It can tie back to our broadcast system. It can tie back to our segmentation tools to do automated re-engagement. There's a lot of capabilities. And of course, we have that native inbox full featured. It's not, like you
Right.
said, it's not just message in, message out. There's a lot of functionality there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of customers, have been using for years. So the combination of the whole solution, I think, from a technology feature set is unique. We are also able to bundle, right, our services as well. So you
Yeah.
can kind of buy into Moblico and say, I'll just do messaging, or I'll do a mobile app, or I'll do.
Yep.
You can buy parts, or you can a la carte, we call it, or you can buy our services in a bundled fashion. So I think there's financially a benefit as well. So better
Very nice.
solution, better price.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, and I think you're absolutely right. And I've seen a lot of the different functionality in your organization, and I can see how there's some really good synergies between each one of these with this new evolution of the order assist. And I think that this is something that distributors really need to pay attention to. Now, obviously, I talk about it a lot on this show, and you see it a lot at these conferences, but eventually this is going to be, it's not an if thing, this is a when thing. I really believe that. I truly believe it is a when thing. It's not an if.
I strongly believe that processing your orders in an automated fashion is going to be like having an email address.
I agree. Yeah.
At some point, everybody's going to have it do it. And if you don't, you're going to be wasting a lot of valuable time.
This is a lot like when people ask me about barcode scanning, inside a warehouse. I tell them, look, it's not an if thing, it's a when thing. This is going to happen because it's just too darn labor intensive not to. And there's too many mistakes.
We didn't even talk about it, but our mobile app program, right? So the native apps that we produce for our customers under their brand in the App Store, a lot of those apps have ordering functionality, restocking, crib crawl type functions.
Yeah.
A lot of them use we have a native barcode scanner in the app as well. So my point earlier is all these things, as far as Moblico is concerned, are all intertwined, connected to each other, and there's a lot of synergy between all the services that can still be used. I like the crawl, walk, run model because it can be overwhelming, right? If you present the entire suite to someone, it's like, wow, there's a lot there. It's usually the reaction you'll get.
Yeah.
So I think you peel back and say, well, what matters to you most now, right? And what's the low hanging fruit, and what's an easy way to get you going from point A to point B. But what I also find is typical crossing the chasm story where you're looking over the cliff, you're like, should I jump or not, right? That fear factor or the unknown, right? Once you cross it, all of a sudden, whatever it was that was holding you back is gone, right? So now it's like, oh, I get it. And you usually see an acceleration of adoption once you cross that chasm.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, before I let you go here, I wanted to let you do a little plug here on the discussion that you had, the contractor shift discussion. Would you mind just sharing a little bit, and then we'll make sure we put it in the show notes, the link to it, of course.
I appreciate that. So we produced a webcast called Contractor Shift, and the purpose of it is to sort of dig into what are the contractor shift in expectations and behaviors and so on. So the format, we have a host, Nick Pericle from Profit Optics. I think you've interviewed.
He was just on the show. Yeah.
Okay, great. And we have TJ O'Connor from the Farmington Group that spends a good 20 minutes debriefing on market research, insight. This is, primary research data that he shares with our audience. It's pretty good stuff. And then that's followed by a panel, which is featured Chris Bone of APR Supply and Tyler Bumpus from RMAT and are on the panel. So it's a really nice format. There's a ton of information, and some things came up that were unexpected very informative. So I encourage everybody to take a listen to the Contractor Shift. Again, it's posted on our blog.
Great. All right, my friend. Well, hey, as always, it's a pleasure to chat with you. I'm excited about the direction you all are going. You've got a great partner that you're going there with. And I look forward to catching up. See you here in a couple weeks in Chicago.
Appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Chicago.
All right. You take care, my friend.
Take care, Jason. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, consider sharing with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast application. Links to sponsors, products, and services mentioned during this episode can be found in the show description area or at www.distributiontalk.com. Distribution Talk is edited and mixed by the brilliant team at the Creative Imposter Studios. This episode was brought to you by my company, the Distribution Team. We are a consulting services firm dedicated to helping wholesale distribution clients remove barriers to profitability, generate wealth, and achieve personal goals. To learn more about how we can help your company succeed, check us out at www.thedistributionteam.com.